General Hospital spoilers tease that Jocelyn has finally faced the terrifying truth she had long sensed but never dared to name. It was Isaiah who poisoned Sonny at his weakest. Lying in a hospital bed in Los Angeles, supposedly the safest place for a man who had just escaped death. These past days, Jocelyn lived in utter suspicion. Constantly haunted by a feeling that something was off, something that made it hard to breathe, impossible to sleep. Every time she saw Sonny unconscious in that hospital bed. Every time Carly tried to stay calm and collected, Jocelyn felt more tormented by the smoldering suspicion within her. The enemy never left. It was lurking. Close by, maybe even smiling and pretending to care, right there in the sterile white halls of the hospital. Isaiah, once trusted, once introduced as part of a special medical team supporting Sonny, had never been questioned. He acted with politeness, precision, composure, and what appeared to be a strong sense of responsibility. That facade was exactly what lulled everyone into complacency. But Jocelyn couldn't ignore the fleeting looks, the unnatural gestures, the subtle signs that everyone else dismissed. Relying on her sharp instincts, honed from growing up in a family that never truly knew peace, she started piecing things together, from deleted security footage, to relabeled medication bottles, to last-minute shift changes with no clear explanation. It all led her to one chilling, undeniable truth: Isaiah was the one. He had poisoned Sonny. But what was worse than the act itself was the motive behind it, a cold, calculated, mad logic. Isaiah wasn't just a rogue actor driven by rage, nor merely a pawn being controlled. He believed in what he was doing. He believed Sonny symbolized a corrupt system, that Sonny's death was necessary to reset the order, and that fanatical conviction made Isaiah incredibly dangerous. He wasn't afraid of being discovered. He left clues intentionally, almost daring someone to follow them, because he believed that one day, everyone would come to see Sonny's death as justified. Jocelyn is no longer the emotionally driven girl she once was. After everything, loss, betrayal, brushes with death, she's changed. And as she looked directly into the truth about Isaiah, something awakened inside her, a part that is fierce, cold, and resolute. The part that had lain dormant, trusting that adults would fix things. But now, the adults are tired, falling apart. Jason is trapped in his own battles. Carly is stretched thin, holding up appearances, worrying about Sonny, fending off relentless media pressure. Jocelyn knows that this time, if she doesn't rise, no one else will be clear-headed enough to do it. She doesn't scream. She doesn't cry. She begins to plan. Each move is calculated. She quietly backs up Sonny's medical records, collects Isaiah's personal information, tracks down those who had worked with him, and slowly constructs a full picture of a man who had hidden in plain sight. And when all the pieces fit together, the truth becomes even more horrifying. This wasn't just a personal act of poisoning. It was the opening shot of a covert campaign never before revealed. Isaiah may just be the first pawn, or worse, the vanguard of an organization plotting to erase Sonny's legacy by systematically eliminating every key figure. That realization ignites every cell in Jocelyn's body. She is no longer afraid. No longer hesitant. She knows she must move faster than Isaiah, expose him before he vanishes into the shadows like a professional killer. But she also knows this: once she makes her move, there's no turning back. Isaiah will know who she is. He'll know she found out. And he will act. Jocelyn is ready. This time, she won't wait for someone else to protect her. She will fight for Sonny, for Carly, for her family, and for herself. She was once a dreamer, but now, she has become the true heir to a fighting legacy. She is Carly's daughter, Bobby's granddaughter, a Corinthos by blood. And Isaiah will soon realize that in going after Sonny, he didn't just target one man, he challenged a rising generation. And Jocelyn will be the first to strike back. Jocelyn now stands at a crossroads that leaves no room for hesitation, no space for soft feelings or blind faith in justice through legal means. Sonny's death, though not officially ruled an assassination, left her with a scar that will never heal. It wasn't just the loss of a father figure or a monumental presence in her life. It was the collapse of the last bit of belief she had in this world. As the truth slowly emerged, that Isaiah deliberately and methodically poisoned Sonny, Jocelyn understood it was time to act. Not out of emotion, but out of blood. Pain didn't break her. It transformed her into the coldest version of herself. She is no longer the girl who once sobbed at Sonny's bedside. Who once waited anxiously for surgery results, who once believed that love alone could shield her family. Now, in her eyes, there is only one thing that can bring justice: revenge. Not a reckless outburst. A carefully constructed plan, step by step, with chilling clarity. Jocelyn starts mapping out the path for a war she knows will demand everything. She studies Isaiah's files. Traces his past employment, interrogates his former contacts, and gradually exposes the shadowy connections that had once stayed hidden. But madness spreads like a virus. Sonny's death wasn't the end, it was the spark that set secret forces in motion. There are nameless warnings, unseen watchers, erased hospital records, all signs that Isaiah isn't alone. And though Jocelyn may be the only one who sees the full picture, she is now trapped in a labyrinth of deceit, manipulation, and betrayal. She can trust no one, not even those closest to her. Every new clue brings new dangers, new darkness. It's no longer just Sonny in the crosshairs, but Carly, Michael, and Jocelyn herself. This battle isn't just between Jocelyn and Isaiah. It's between two worlds, one that still believes in family and honor, and another fueled by apathy, blood, and flawless deception. Isaiah didn't just kill Sonny with poison. He wants to destroy Sonny's entire legacy, erase his name, shatter the Corinthos family, plunge them into chaos. And Jocelyn, though the youngest player in that power chain, is the only one still clear-headed enough to face it. Every night, she plans in silence. She learns to use tools only Jason or Sonny once used: digital tracking, hospital network traps. The underground intelligence network of those loyal to her family. She says nothing to Carly, knowing her mother would try to stop her out of fear. But she also knows Carly taught her to be strong. And now, Jocelyn is proving it. She isn't seeking justice in court. She'll get it the way Sonny once taught her, with action, with cunning, and if necessary, with blood. She knows sacrifices will be made. She knows there will be losses. But this time, she won't back down. She will expose Isaiah. And she won't stop until he feels the same fear Sonny did in his final moments. This is no longer just personal pain. This is war. And Jocelyn is ready. Isaiah is no longer just the man who poisoned Sonny with cold calculation. Now that the truth has surfaced, that he is Sidwell's secret son, this has spiraled far beyond the confines of a single assassination. It is no longer a personal act. It's part of a genetic blueprint, an intergenerational conspiracy, cleverly masked beneath layers of politics, medicine, and shadow power. And this truth, once unearthed, has become the spark that shakes the foundations of every power in Port Charles, dragging Jocelyn, Carly, Jason, and even Sonny's entire legacy into a whirlwind from which there may be no escape. Sidwell, a man long perceived as a calm, intelligent force working behind the scenes, had always been rumored to be a manipulator. But no one suspected that he was the father of the very man who tried to end Sonny's life. Isaiah didn't arrive as a hired killer, he came as a blood heir. Trained and planted in Port Charles as part of a calculated game of power. Sonny's death wasn't meant to be the end goal, it was just the beginning. A first move in a long-planned, blood purge, to restructure the town's hierarchy, with Sidwell quietly building a new empire using his own lineage as its foundation. Madness is spreading, not only from the shock of Isaiah's true identity but also from the sheer speed at which everything is spinning out of control. Even Sidwell, with all his long-term strategies, now finds himself on the defensive as Isaiah's acts of violence and inhumanity begin to leak into the public, shaking the moral facade he spent a lifetime constructing. Isaiah is no longer just a pawn, he's an emotional bomb, a symbol of hatred festering from years of neglect, rejection, and abandonment by the very world Sidwell once tried to protect. When Jocelyn discovered the blood tie between Isaiah and Sidwell, she could no longer maintain the objectivity of an independent investigator. Every suspicion, every connection, every boundary she thought existed, was obliterated. She's not just facing a murderer now, she's up against a hidden dynasty, where the enemy is not just names on a list, but a full-blown system built on secrecy, betrayal, and inherited vengeance. Isaiah's actions are no longer impulsive acts of violence, they are deliberate moves, passed down from Sidwell like a toxic legacy. The most terrifying part? Things are spinning far beyond anyone's initial calculations. Jason can no longer control the leads. Carly is clinging to what's left after Sonny's collapse. And Jocelyn, now at the center of the storm, can't tell where the line between investigation and revenge begins or ends. Between morality and the necessary brutality. She is changing, not because she wants to, but because the circumstances are turning her into someone even she no longer recognizes. Isaiah, with Sidwell's blood coursing through his veins, is following his own warped logic, one shaped by isolation, buried truths, and a desperate need to prove his worth. And now that he's stepped into the light, as the town begins to feel the real weight of his presence, the chaos is escalating beyond anyone's ability to respond. His identity is no longer just shocking news, it's the warning bell for a greater storm approaching. Port Charles has faced many threats, but this is different. This time, they're up against a force forged from both power and destruction, merged into a single form named Isaiah. And when all are driven into darkness, when the hatred of a forgotten son meets the crumbling remains of the old world, nothing can stop the explosion that follows. Isaiah is spiraling into the very darkness Sidwell spent his life building and concealing. But the scariest part isn't that Isaiah is Sidwell's heir, it's that he's becoming a new Sidwell. One even more dangerous, more unhinged, driven by an obsession that's far beyond redemption. Unlike Sidwell, who cloaked himself behind layers of politics, finances, and shadow networks, Isaiah acts without masks, without waiting for the right moment. He strikes while the blood is hot, when emotions are raging, and when the desire to destroy is too fierce to suppress. Sonny's near death was just the beginning. When the poisoning attempt failed and Sonny survived, if only temporarily, Isaiah realized that to truly destroy Sonny's legacy, he couldn't just attack the body, he had to strike at the soul, the hearts of those around him, and the memory that the town still holds dear. That's why Isaiah has chosen his next targets, not just Brennan, Sidwell's old associate who knows too much, but Carly herself, the living heart of the Corinthos family. The woman who has stood at the center of every battle and never once faltered. Eliminating Brennan isn't just about silencing a witness, it's a declaration of war. Brennan once helped Sidwell cover up his darkest operations, but with time, he sought to wash his hands, to walk away clean. Isaiah sees this as betrayal. To him, Brennan was supposed to continue the mission, not retreat and play the penitent. Isaiah won't allow that. Brennan won't just be silenced, he'll be erased from the board, a discarded pawn. An example to any former ally of Sidwell who dares to switch sides. But it's Carly who makes Isaiah most dangerous. Carly isn't just Sonny's ex-wife, she's the pillar, the symbol of resilience. The woman who has seen, suffered, and fought for every generation of the Corinthos family. She represents the last shred of humanity Sonny never lost. Isaiah knows, if Sonny dies but Carly remains, the world will still remember him as a legend. So Carly cannot be allowed to live. What makes it more terrifying is that Isaiah doesn't want to kill Carly out of hate, he wants to erase everything Sonny ever touched. He follows her, from the hospital in Los Angeles to secret meetings with Jason, from the nights she sits alone reading files on threats to Sonny, to the quiet moments she stares at photos of her children. Isaiah is not just a murderer, he is a phantom, infiltrating every space, warping every norm of humanity, and burning every line between past and present. His obsession has grown beyond Sonny, it's become a cancer, consuming morality, loyalty, and even his own sanity. Isaiah believes that by eliminating Brennan and Carly, He will complete the blood legacy, Sidwell began, a world without Sonny, without anyone who ever defended him. And without any memory left to remind people he mattered to Port Charles. Isaiah's madness is escalating beyond control. And the worst part? He believes he's righteous, that his actions are necessary to purge the old world and make way for a new order. He doesn't hide. He doesn't hesitate. He walks the earth like a man on a mission. And anyone who won't bow, will be crushed. Port Charles is on the brink of a bloody new era. And this time, the one spreading terror is the very son Sidwell once buried in the shadows. A seemingly harmless figure, now a monster unleashed. And Jocelyn, Carly, Jason, they will have to face something they were never prepared for, a new Sidwell, far more dangerous. Bearing the name Isaiah. Jocelyn is stepping into the greatest battle of her life, not as a girl on the sidelines or Carly's daughter, but as a true warrior. The heir to her family's fighting bloodline, facing the threat endangering her mother and everything left of Sonny's legacy. Sonny's attempted assassination, Isaiah's true identity. And the rise of an unprecedented dark force have left Jocelyn with no choice. She knows now, Carly is the next target. This realization didn't come from one single shock, it formed through a series of quiet, ominous signs, a strange car parked nearby, a call cut short. A familiar face with unfamiliar eyes in the hospital lobby, and the suffocating feeling that something is closing in, backing them into a corner. Carly, strong as she is, can't see it all. But Jocelyn can. She's changed. The pain of Sonny's attempted murder, Isaiah's cruelty, and the chaos surrounding Port Charles have awakened something primal in her, and now, the only thing she can do is act. Not just for herself, but for the woman she loves most. Jocelyn's first mission is to protect Carly, at any cost. No more calling the cops, hiding, or hoping someone else will keep them safe. She begins tracking Isaiah. She taps into Jason's old network, installs a tracker on her mother's car, checks Carly's phone every night. Maps out her routines, even alters her mom's daily routes to avoid traps she's convinced Isaiah has set. She tells no one, not out of mistrust, but because she knows. When your enemy is a ghost born from Sidwell's ashes, every move must be planned like a real military campaign. Meanwhile, Isaiah, no longer a lone killer, is becoming the center of a new criminal empire. He doesn't need time to build a network. He just uses what Sidwell left behind, money, alliances. A list of those who owe favors, or were once threatened, or lived on the razor's edge between right and wrong. He draws in lost souls, Sonny's old enemies, mercenaries loyal only to power and cash. He forms an organization with no name, no face, no fingerprints, just brutal efficiency. And in that system, Carly is marked in red. Jocelyn knows she's on her own. Jason is tied up with fallout in Los Angeles. Michael is drowning in political and emotional chaos after their father's death. Drew is a ghost of himself. Carly, though ever strong, is beginning to doubt her own survival instincts. Jocelyn can't wait for rescue. She must strike first. Because if Carly falls, if she's destroyed, everything Sonny built. Trust, honor, loyalty, the foundation of Port Charles, will crumble like a house without a base. But Jocelyn's journey isn't just about protection. She's learning to strike back. She no longer fears the darkness, she steps into it, her once gentle eyes now cold and sharp. She's not preparing for a bad night, she's preparing for war. A war where every move is life or death. Where Isaiah isn't just an enemy, but a symbol that must be taken down. She fights not with words, but with will, with strategy. With instincts inherited from a mother like Carly and a spiritual father like Sonny. The darkness Isaiah is building doesn't just threaten Port Charles. It's a declaration of war on everything old, love, honor, sacrifice. And if no one stands to defend them, he will win. But Isaiah made one mistake, he thought Carly was the weakness. He never knew, Carly is the reason Jocelyn is unstoppable. The real war has begun. And as Isaiah expands his empire of terror, Jocelyn, quietly, fiercely, is becoming the first and only warrior standing between light and shadow. And she will not let her mother fall. Not again. Not ever. Carly and Brennan, two people from entirely different worlds, are now being forced onto the same battlefield by a threat too clear, too dangerous to ignore, Isaiah. After all the losses, the unspeakable grief, from the poisoning of Sonny to the earth-shattering revelation of Isaiah's true identity, both Carly and Brennan understand that Port Charles is no longer a safe place. And if they don't take a stand now, the enemy won't stop at threats, he will annihilate everything. This new war isn't born of choice, but of survival. Brennan, burdened by a past riddled with guilt, political secrets, and far-reaching conspiracies, can no longer hide. He realizes that no matter how far he's tried to retreat, no matter how much he's tried to rebuild, the ghost of Sidwell haunts him in its most vivid form, a forsaken son, raised by hatred, Isaiah. Brennan knows Isaiah won't stop with Sonny. And now that Carly is his next target, Brennan has no reason left to stay silent. Carly, after everything she's endured, fighting for her children, for Sonny, for Jason, for her own dignity, has no room left for fear. She knows Isaiah doesn't just want her dead, he wants to erase everything Sonny ever stood for. She's not just the ex-wife. She is the last remaining symbol of the Corinthos Empire, a woman Port Charles admires, fears, and never dares to underestimate. And for that very reason, she cannot sit still while both the past and future of her family are under siege. Carly and Brennan, though not bound by trust, understand each other more deeply than anyone else right now. A mad shift is taking place, not only in relationships, but in the entire structure of underground power that has long existed in this town. Isaiah is emerging as a new force, unbound by rules, owing no debts, revealing no clear weakness. He is the most dangerous kind of enemy, the kind who believes he has the right to kill. And it is that absolute danger that leaves Carly and Brennan with no time. There's no space left for long-term tactics. They must act now, strike before they're wiped out. Brennan calls on old connections, agents who owe him a life, underground networks he once abandoned. Carly, in turn, mobilizes what she still has, the loyalty of those who still loved Sonny. Her own razor-sharp intelligence, and above all, the unshakable belief that no one else will decide her fate for her. The explosion isn't a matter of speculation anymore, it's already begun. Quietly but inevitably. Carly is no longer waiting to be saved. Brennan is no longer hiding in guilt and silence. They have both stepped into new roles, the ones who start the war. And this time, they are not fighting to survive. They're fighting to end a dark era, and if necessary, bury Isaiah and everything he's building. The shock has been confirmed. Isaiah is no longer just a name, he is the nightmare bleeding into reality. And only Carly and Brennan, despite their differences, may be able to stop him before Port Charles is dragged into a night with no way out.